Please don't think that because I'm talking to you, I'm a head of innovation at a school and I've got lots of artificial intelligence and robots and everything else at my disposal. Certainly it's far from that. But innovation for us is basically looking at everything we do and thinking about how we can maybe do it better or differently or whatever. And Steve Jobs, he says that innovation distinguishes between a leader and a follower. And certainly what we try and do is lead in terms of different ways in which we approach different aspects of school. So some of the things that we've been innovating over the last... Come in. Some of the areas that we feel that we've been innovating are teaching and learning. Obviously, we're in a school environment. Come in. Good morning. And of course, in any school, the bread and butter is actually the teaching and learning aspects. And we've spent a lot of time looking at teaching and learning and actually trying to develop our teaching and learning. And more about these different areas in a moment. Professional development, obviously, keeping teachers at the top of their game, looking at different ways in which we can adapt the curriculum. We work on a British curriculum, but obviously there's lots of different academic pathways. We'll talk a little bit about those later in the presentation. A big focus on well-being, student well-being and staff well-being, in fact well-being across the whole college, making everybody feel as though they're valued. Again, more about that. Innovative facilities, looking at the way in which we, or the facilities we put together, the classroom layouts, etc. Innovation in terms of communication, making sure that that triangle between parents, school and students is a really strong communication bond, and looking at different ways in which we've actually looked at improving those communication links. And obviously humanity, the sort of social responsibility aspect as well, and being innovative in that within the constraints of teaching in Dubai. Come in. You've hardly missed anything. So, throughout the presentation, I'm just going to highlight one or two little things that we've done at Desk. Not to promote Desk and say, look at us, we're absolutely great. Far from it. Just these are the steps that we've taken to try and improve our institution in terms of the various different areas. And I've got one or two little video clips to show, again, not just to be flash, but actually to show some of our innovation actually in action. Good morning. So we've developed a team of teaching and learning teachers. So the idea is that we are having different teachers within the college who are responsible for the various areas along the top. So we've got obviously somebody in teaching and learning who is experienced at using technology and who looks at pushing technology within the college. Cross-curricular Super 16, I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment or two. We have an action research team. They are currently, the action research team, looking at the whole marking policy and whether we could do marking and feedback in a more innovative way, a more constructive way, or a more efficient way perhaps. Obviously looking at the SEND students and making sure that all students can access the curriculum. And this one on the end here, this one is called Lead Learners. This is something that we brought into play whereby students will actually feed back to teachers on some of the lessons that they experience, so the teachers can get feedback from a student perspective rather than from another teacher's perspective. So teaching and learning, we pin everything on what we call 4 to grow. 4 to grow is basically dare to challenge, excel to exceed, share to synergize, and create to innovate. And that basic 4 to grow goes across the whole school. So that's a cross-curricular theme, and then we expanded that 4 to grow, and within that we've created a Super 16. So these are 16 things that we want students and teachers to be aware of when they're teaching their subject. So we always want to try and improve what we're doing and to try and get some of the Super 16 into all lessons. I said a little bit about the lead learners. This is our lead learner team here. They are students that have been trained into being a lead learner. They know a little bit about lesson planning, and they feedback very positively to staff. It's not imposed on staff. What we say is we're always trying to get better. One of the methods of trying to get better is actually to get the feedback from the students and then respond to that. The mantra we have is every teacher needs to improve. Not because they're not good enough, but because they can be even better. It doesn't matter who that is. That's from the head teacher right the way down to support staff, etc. Every teacher needs to improve. And we look at the 4 different areas. The 4 areas to improve are actual teaching and learning techniques, curriculum knowledge, assessment, effective assessment. We're looking at the action research in the moment in terms of assessment and feedback, and of course well-being. So those are the 4 areas that we focus on. So our professional development is quite different at Desk to anything that I'd ever experienced before. Because what we do is we have professional development activities that are run by members of staff for staff. So instead of a specialist standing up here and saying, yeah, this is the way to do it, absolutely not. It might be that I'm particularly used to dealing with awkward parents or difficult conversations. I might then put together a PD activity whereby young members of staff, inexperienced members of staff, can come and have a little session on how you might diffuse a situation, you might be able to handle a more difficult situation. All these are put together in what we call a menu of choice, and that menu of choice changes day on day, week on week. So this was just a quick screenshot of Sunday the 7th of January, okay? And all these are, Relax and Refresh, Scott Stevenson, Director of Wellbeing, all about how, staff wellbeing session, how they can relax and refresh and come back and be even more dynamic in the classroom. The use of Apple TV effectively in the classroom. This is just Rob Crossley's a maths teacher with no responsibility, but he's learned that he uses his iPad and he's got Apple TV, and he shows other members of staff the pitfalls of using the Apple TV and how that actually works in the classroom. And because it's teachers running it for teachers, the teachers are able to go through the difficult areas, the areas that can be a problem. Now, we've had over 200 sessions already this academic year. We don't make it compulsory. There is a menu of choice, and you go to whichever menu of choice is more applicable to you. Staff, as a little incentive, get this little coffee card, a little bit like a Starbucks or a Costa coffee card. Every time they go to a menu of choice, they get a stamp. When they've got 5 menu of choices, they get a coffee. 10 menu of choices, they get a free lunch. Just a little incentive to actually get involved in that. This works really well. because there is so much experience in a school that it's about harnessing that experience, and you know, it's been really popular with the staff. That's not to say we don't send staff out on curriculum days, going to exam board meetings, etc. Of course we do. The curriculum is important. It's important that you're aware of the latest specs. So well-being is a really important part of what we do. So we've just appointed a director of well-being. It's a teacher within the school who will be looking at well-being across the board. We have an assistant head teacher who's in charge of well-being in the college. And well-being is basically taking care of absolutely everything to do with the students and the staff. So from the medical services, so we do have, you know, 3 nurses on site at desk. We've got quite a big SEND department. We've got house team. We've got a student council. We have student advisors. Student advisors you probably think of as counsellors, as was, but there seems to be a bit of a stigma attached to going to see a counsellor, but going to see a student advisor. We have parent liaison officers. We've got a staff wellbeing committee. We have various foodie treats as part of the wellbeing committee, as well as organising social activities. And of course our GROW programme is basically a PHSCE type programme where we're going through with students what they actually need to know, those sort of life skills outside the classroom. I think the one thing I would say before I move on to technology is we base an awful lot of what we do on being happy. So if the assistant heads are happy, if the heads of department are happy, if the teachers are happy, there's more chance of the students being happy. And we try and foster that whole atmosphere of it's a nice place to be. It doesn't feel like a school. As I remember my school, it's more of a community of people all wanting to do the best they possibly can. Again, with the technology, I'm going to show you a little video clip now. These are teachers who are getting involved in technology and using technology within our institution. They're not specialists. Catherine Gracie is now our teaching and learning person for technology. She was a science teacher 2-3 years ago, and she has just developed this real interest in technology and how it can be used in the classroom. So she's become our teaching and learning expert on that. But again, nobody actually appointed to be, you know, this technological superstar. It's everybody working together, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences that help.
My name is Catherine Gracie, and I'm the deputy teacher. One of my key roles is to help enhance the student learning experience in the effective possible. Being a system that will move teaching and learning forward through digital basis. We've adapted the curriculum to best suit our students' needs and created a textual for staff filled with ideas and to help them. In response to staff, pushing them to use technology and step outside their comfort zone to do the role.
I have incorporated ICT into my lessons in a number of ways.
Great. Instagram pages, YouTube channels.
They give them QR codes in which they are able to
Scan straight to the YouTube channel where there'll be video on that specific homework question.
This goes through and explains how to carry out the test. They're able to find the video that works for the question that they've got wrong and really work through their own problems, like starters and puzzles.
We've worked to see around for a while online with the students submitting their own flashcards.
Voice recorded feedback is a really good tool for personalising learning for students. So there would usually be common mistakes that the students would make. So each set of codes for each answer would be personalised to that question.
The best part of this is that we're finding students are able to now rewind and take their own time, work at their own pace.
Students then during feedback can just access the voice recorded clips, focus on the themes that they need to and improve their written work. Again, encouraging independent learning.
Reflection has become so much more stronger and so much more specific, and the group growth has definitely improved.
Obviously, that reflects our overall college culture, the professionalism and dedication of our staff, their willingness to embrace new technology and enhance the learning by developing new strategies for our students.
Can I just say that these videos weren't done specifically for this presentation today. They're part of the communication that we've tried to develop at Desk, whereby we are trying to do vlogs every week. So we do a newsletter, a written newsletter, but then we try and put a vlog out showing what's going on in the college that particular week, all the events, etc. And you know, I'll say a little bit more about that in a minute, but these are teachers that are just engaging with technology in the classroom. Some of you may or may not be aware of the SAMR model. We sort of adapted the SAMR model in terms of technology. So what we're trying to get staff to do is think about using technology to create that absolute wow factor, to redefine their lessons based on the use of technology. So we've got substitution. So this is substitution. This is substituting this for me doing it on the whiteboard. Technology, the use of technology, what we're trying to do is get teachers to think about how they can completely restructure and redesign their lessons by using some form of technology. That's not in every lesson, that's not driven across the board, it's a want. We see that technology obviously is the future. I think most people will, agree with that. It's a great learning tool, but it's how we can use it to actually enhance the teaching that's all about. And we said about the little videos. So the students can access things at their own pace. Well, what we've done within our own sort of intranet is we've created our Desk Tech website. So we've got a number of different how-to guides that have been created for teachers. But the slight difference is they've been created by our teachers for our teachers. Again, not using expensive software. It's a free screen capture software that we use. But again, Catherine Gracie, I'll just give you a little hint.
How to set up a class notebook. What is class notebook? An app on Microsoft Business that allows teachers to quickly set up a personal workspace for every student for their class. There is also an area for a content library, which is used for handouts and a collaboration space to be used by each student. In other words, it is an interactive online exercise. So here is how you set one up. So if I go to my 365 homepage, all I need to do is click on this will bring me to a page where I've got...
So this is not a lesson that I want to give you this morning. It's just a little idea of the clips that we've got on there. So there's a bank or a library that staff can use. So if they've never used Class Notebook before, and I have to say I hadn't used Class Notebook before the start of this year, I'm now Class Notebook is my Bible in terms of it's my planner. I put everything that I need into my Class Notebook by following these step-by-step guides. And I think hearing somebody's voice that you know also helps you engage with it, because you're thinking to yourself, yeah, Catherine, and she's done that, and she goes through it literally click by click. So one of the things that we talked about at the start was improving communication links. We're currently working on creating an app for the students instead of a planner. So it'll be a designed app with all the various bits and pieces that they need. We do these vlogs every week, and we vlog all the sporting events and everything else. We've actually also dipped our toe into the live streaming, so if people couldn't make a particular production or I think it was the Christmas concert, we actually streamed that live so parents could watch it from wherever they were. We've got our YouTube site now, everything that we do, so if is recorded today. I'm sure this will end up going on our YouTube site further on down the line. And the parents use a parent app linked to our management system, which is iSAMS, which pops any information that they need to know, letters, etc., so they can access it, and it pops to their phone, and they can, you know, they can be up to date with what's going on. I'm slightly cringing with this next video because look at us, look at how great it is, but that's not the purpose of this, so I'm just going to stop it part of the way so you can see what we're talking about in terms of facilities. So I'm just going to stop it there. Obviously I'll let it go again in a minute. For our sixth form students, what we've tried to do, the big buzzword is always trying to get students to be independent learners. If you can get them to go and study on their own because they want to go and study on your own, you've cracked it. So what we've done is we've created a sixth form centre with lots of different types of study space, almost like a mini university. So rather than all round tables like you might see in a normal cafe there, we've gone for some upright ones, and we've plugged laptops into them, and they've got power to them. They've got these little booths to work in. I'll keep going. Oh, no, go back. Oh, it's all gone wrong. Why won't it stop where I want it to stop? Never mind. But you saw some of those facilities there. Different types of study room, individual study benches, tables that are high up, little sort of cushioned seats where they can kick the shoes off and they can sit down and they can have a laptop on their knee and work. So when we're developing these facilities, it was thinking about the students, and it was actually talking to the students and getting a feel for who likes to study where. I know where I would have studied when I was at school. Probably not in the silent study room with a little bay, and maybe that's where I should have studied. But creating those different areas for them to actually study encourages them to be more independent learners, because what we're saying to them is, look, this is so important, use this correctly. Humanity and social responsibility. Sixth form students as global ambassadors. Sixth form students here who are educating years 7 to 11 on global topics is a nice way of doing things. And again, this little video, and I'm going to talk over it a little bit.
A long illustrious history in terms of raising the national and local problem. Today was all about all the students and staff at desk getting 1.5 walk through the desert, paying attendance.
The whole idea, or the whole concept of this walk in the desert, 1.5 kilometres, was taking them back to the classroom, and students were made aware that some children the same age as them, they have to do that every day to even get to school, or to get water, or you know, trying to make sure that they realise that how privileged they are. I mean, they really enjoyed it in the end, but the thought of going for a 1.5 kilometre walk in the desert, what? You know, students just didn't want to engage with that at all. But it was a way of actually sort of opening their eyes to different things. Final thing on my presentation before questions. Trying to have an innovative, and I struggle with that word, curriculum. So, as a British curriculum school, we tend to be GCSE, A-level, off to university. That is the standard pathway, if you like, for the British curriculum. Our principal said we want to make sure there's an educational pathway for absolutely all our students. So 3 years ago now, we brought in a range of BTEC courses. Okay? The BTEC courses are starting to expand, so we started off with just 2, like a business studies type course and a sport course. We brought in hospitality, we've got travel and tourism, so it's building all the time, and it gives another academic pathway for the students that invariably struggle in exams. Because GCSEs, if you struggle in that exam situation and you're going to struggle whatever subject you do. So we've brought this on board. We've had 1 cohort, 2 cohorts completely through now. The response from the students has been brilliant, because suddenly some of the students are best in the school at a subject that they wouldn't have been best in the school at any subject prior to this. And then what we've done is we've introduced a foundation year. A foundation year is for those students who have finished GCSE, level 2 courses, but are not quite ready for level 3. So they might have done GCSEs, but not got level 5s, level 6s at level 3, at level 2, and probably need another year sort of topping up those skills and that knowledge before they go into the sixth form for real. So we've created this foundation year. Last year, 5 students studying a range of level 2 qualifications, plus maths and English resit. They will then slot into year 12 again this year and start their level 3 courses. We're currently working on, we've got the EPQ qualification going. We're now looking at the IPQ qualification as well. So we're always looking at the curriculum and how we can improve the curriculum for our students, for the only reason that we want every student to be able to achieve to their maximum potential. That's it from me in terms of presentation. Quite happy to take any questions if you have any burning questions. Pardon? Yes, we're doing the feedback now. Well, we're doing the questions now. Is there a survey? Have you got a survey to do? I don't know about the survey. Any questions from the presentation? Was it what you were expecting? Were you expecting me to show you robotics and artificial intelligence? Any questions at all?
Yeah, I mean, we're always grappling with what innovation is, which is relative, isn't it? What normal in some schools might be completely revolutionary in others. So we have come coping with some ideas and helping provide some, so thank you very much for that. But there's always that grey area between, well, yeah, of course we do that. We wouldn't count that as innovation.
Yeah.
But, so it's a question, yeah, do you go through that, have you gone through that process of defining?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose because innovation is on the DSIB framework, you have to put your mind to it, and then we think, well, hold on a minute, it's not just about showing technology, because technology is a small part of innovation. It's looking at, as an institution, how we go about doing things. And some of these things, like the menu of choice, I'm sure lots of you will probably have those in your schools. Maybe a bit more piecemeal, not quite as rigorous a programme as we put together. But it's just looking at things in a different way and thinking, right, how can we make the institution even better? And I think it's also part of our Dare, Excel, Share, Create. You have to dare, you have to go out on a limb and try it, and then if it doesn't work, we put our hands up and say, well, that didn't work. We'll go back to how we did it before. We do an ONF, so our going and observing lessons we call ONF. And rather than a full lesson every year, weeks, and sit and watch 20 minutes, maybe the start, maybe the end, maybe the middle, and then work with the teacher on how to try and, you know, what we've seen and what they can do, little things to actually improve. But it's done in a non-threatening sort of way. It's not done in a, this is the present, you know, this is the observation, you're not good enough at this, boom. It's, let's look at the positives, let's look at how we can try and improve if we can. And for me, that's what innovation is all about, you know. We don't look at what other schools do. Maybe we should look at what other schools do. We look at, you know, how we can, within what we've got, make each individual area a little bit better. I don't know if there's a feedback sheet that needs to be completed. I'm just going to go and ask. Is there a feedback sheet?
No, there is no sheet. It's online.
Ah, online link. Whatever works there.
Yes, so you go to the whiteboards.ae and then you find under whiteboards there's the feedback session feedback. So you choose the session and do the feedback on that.
So, events, Water Rocket 1, 2, 3, 4 to get on the Wi-Fi. Everybody, this is innovative, isn't it? Whatworks.ae, Find Mine. I'm Roger Hancock from Desk. I'm one of the assistant head teachers. Please provide feedback if you can. That would be great.
How do you measure the impact of technology?
We do surveys of the students, happiness surveys of the students. Are they enjoying their learning? We get feedback from the teachers themselves. We obviously monitor results and think about whether this is having an impact on the overall results in the school. So there are no sort of hard figures. There's no sort of, you can't give hard data for something like that. I think it's more the students' perceptions. Have the students enjoyed the lesson more because you've used technology? So it's more that sort of surveying of the students and how they're enjoying the lessons more than a hard outcome.
And for your innovations in your PDs, and do you have any concrete impact evidence?
Of what? The PD?
Yeah, your PDs, your menu choice menus you have.
We do staff surveys. We do regular staff surveys, informal surveys, formal surveys, and the feedback from staff is very, very positive because it's seen as from the staff, for the staff, rather than from the leadership imposing it on the staff. But again, it's...
For an impact, they say, okay, all that you do is good. Now what's the impact?
Yeah.
That's why I'm just asking if you have any other way of...
I suppose the impact is happy teachers at the end of the day. The impact is teachers who feel respected as professionals and don't go to other schools for jobs, they stay at desk. The turnover of staff is quite low, we think, because of the total package of what we provide. I hope you found that beneficial. I was quite not knowing what to expect or not knowing what you would expect of me from innovation. But I hope you found it beneficial. I'm sure this will appear on a website somewhere, but by all means email me at desk if you've got any further questions or you want any further support. Thank you very much.